You're watching Public Affairs. Berkowitz is my name, and politics is our game. And we will be doing politics this evening because we have as our guest Terry Obrien, who wants to go from being one president to another president. He is president of the Water Reclamation, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. He's been that president in that position for the last 13 years. He's been on that commission or that board for the last 21 years. He would like to be the next president of the Cook County Board. He's running in the Democratic primary for that nomination. And he's running against 4 competitors. More about the race as we get into the show. But Terry Obrien, is the major issue the repeal of the tax increase? Is that what you're running on?
That's what I've heard and what I've seen traveling this county for the last 4.5 weeks. People are just up in arms with regards to the sales tax and just tax in general. Their feeling is that taxing shouldn't be the way out of the problems of government.
So this was a 1 cent increase in the counties in the sales tax, lapped onto other portions that comprise. What is the total sales tax in Chicago now? Is it 10 1/4?
10 1/4 is what the total sales tax is.
It differs by area because some of that is the local tax, right?
That's correct.
As well as the county tax. Is there a sales, and there's a state sales tax, right?
That is correct. They're all lumped together.
So they all, but the 1 cent increase came from the Cook County Board. You've taken a pledge that you would, if you became president, you would push for the repeal of the entire 1 cent increase?
That's correct, Jeff.
Immediately, not staggered?
Immediately.
Skip the thing
Immediately.
over.
Because what happens is, I know some of my opponents have said they'll do it over a gradual period of time. Well, what happens then, you get lost over a gradual period of time.
Kind of get hooked on that revenue?
Exactly. You got to do it right away. You got to go in, you got to look at the whole operation of Cook County government. When they first told us the deficit was $400 million, I don't know if anybody who attended the September 1st show, maybe some of your viewers might have seen it on cable TV.
That was September 1st Cook County Board meeting?
When they
September 1st, 2009?
When they wanted
We're taping this on September 20th, 2009?
That's correct. When they wanted to do is repeal half the tax, that sales tax. And one of the commissioners, I believe it was Larry Suffredin, said the deficit was only $283 million. Another commissioner came out and said, well, they figured they had somewhat of a surplus of close to $300 million if they had collected all the revenues that were due for the healthcare system in Cook County. Just get into some of the studies and the knowledge that they have or should have had as commissioners, because there had been studies done. There was a study done at Providence Hospital back in 2005 through 2006 with regards to outstanding invoices and open receivables. They totaled that to approximately $51 million. And they said if it's only $51 million there, they looked at Oak Forest and Stroger Hospital and said it was possibly another 4 to 5 times that amount. Now, if it's 4 to 5 times that amount, you're looking at $300 million. So my
$300 million that they could have collected.
Revenues that they could have
billed.
collected.
They didn't even bill, right?
That's correct, between that period of time of 2005 and 2006. So my math tells me that if the deficit is what they said it was on September 1st, $283 million, then they had a revenue source of a plus $300 million, you should have been $17 million on the profit side of things. So why did we need the sales tax?
And now there's an independent board overseeing the Health Bureau in Cook County. And now they seem to be on top of it in terms of getting out the bills and collecting the money. Is that right? Under this new health board?
Well, I don't know if it's completely right.
It hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened.
But at least that's their goal.
That's their goal.
They weren't talking about it 3 years ago.
They were not.
They didn't just care. Just don't send out the bills.
Not.
They don't want to bill them. They don't want to deal with it.
They were not. And the problem I've seen with that aspect of it is once the elected board gave up their responsibility, there should have been a turnaround study. Any company that's faltering or having problems, they'll bring somebody in to take a look at their operations to figure out what's wrong with those operations. Why isn't it that something's not getting billed, or why is the inaccuracies on the bill?
And actually look throughout the system and look what people are doing, what their job responsibilities are, and they're doing.
Correct.
They doing it, right?
And then they can pass that information on to this new independent
Have you
board.
heard of anybody on the board who's been asking for that?
Well, not that I know of. I know they're
Tony
trying.
Parica, does Commissioner Tony Parica, does that ring a bell? You heard of Tony?
Tony, I thought you meant the independent board, but yeah, I've heard of Tony Parica.
And has he been asking for that? Because I think he has.
I'm sure he has. There's been a few that's been asking for it.
He's been asking for it for a long time. I guess not just under Todd, but probably under John Stroger, because Tony's been there for 7 years. Has he had some help?
Well, I'm sure he's had some help from...
Who do you think would be helping him?
Well, I think Forrest Claypool's been helping him. Mike Quigley was helping him. Larry Sufferton was helping him.
They were the gang of four. Those are the gang of four. Sufferton, Parika, Claypool, Quigley, right?
That's correct.
Quigley's gone now, replaced by
He's replaced
Gaynor,
by, yes.
What's her first name?
Bridget Gaynor.
Bridget Gaynor. Sorry, thank you. So Bridget Gaynor's replaced Quigley.
Yes.
Claypool's going to be gone. We'll see who replaces him. John Fritchie's running.
John Fritchie's the candidate in that race.
Maybe likely. All right, but that gang of four seems to have been falling apart. They don't seem to be very cohesive. And is that helping Todd Stroger? And we're not partisan on this show, but Todd's taken a different point of view. Obviously, he proposed the tax increase. He vetoed the repeal of the half of the 1 cent. And so Todd's taken a different point of view. Is that helping him that the gang of four seems to be, if not splintered, just not working cohesively?
Well, if Todd thinks it's benefiting him, he's got to get out of the office downtown and into the suburban areas and into the city to listen to what people are saying about this sales tax. I think people are really in tune to what is happening right now with county government. And only because, one, the economic times have been terrible, and it's impacting everybody. You know, the issue about this healthcare system and, you know, concerns about, you know, the poor not receiving those healthcare benefits if they didn't do this. What about the poor and what about everybody else that's impacted every day when they go out to buy their groceries, when they go out to buy food?
So your point, the sales tax is impacting everybody. It's a regressive tax.
It's correct. It's impacting everybody.
And people pay a higher proportion of the tax as their income goes down.
That's correct.
Higher income people pay a lesser percentage, even though it's a flat tax. If you have a higher income, you're presumably not going to continue to consume those items as much. So the percentage of your income paid on that tax is lower the higher income, right?
And what's happened? That's
regressive.
Right. Exactly. And
this is Todd Stroger. He wants a regressive tax?
That's what it's looking like. I mean, and what's happened is people are traveling to other areas to pay the lesser tax. So what is that doing to the...
Where they go?
Well, they're going to Will County, they're going to Lake County.
What's the difference in Lake County, Cook County?
Lake County, 7.5%.
So it's almost 3 cents on a dollar, right?
You can go right 55 miles away from your studios here, up to Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, 5.5% sales tax. And a lot of people are going up to those strip malls and those outlet centers right now.
So it's hurting business in Cook County?
It's hurting business in Cook County. It's driving business out of Cook County. The commercial and the industrial entities, which are your basic tax base, are leaving every day.
Todd says it's necessary to continue to fund the activities that Cook County provides. He would dispute what you say about the Health Bureau. He'd say if you cut that tax, you're going to cut services for low-income people who rely more than high-income people on the Health Bureau. Although he'd point out in the suburbs, more affluent areas increasingly make use of the clinics and of the hospital. Does he have a point?
Well,
is he right on that last point?
He's got a
Increasingly, those suburban folks are making use of the county hospitals and county medical clinics, right?
Yes. But what's happening is you don't you don't put the burden of taxes on the homeowners or the residents of this region when you don't take care of your own shop first. And there needs to be some consolidation. There needs to be some streamlining of the operations that need to take place. And the hospital system, they've got to look at their expenditures.
But you're
They're
not
overexpending.
You're not running just against Todd Stroger, right?
That's correct.
He's one person you're running again. He's running for re-election. He happens to be African American, right?
Yes.
You happen to be white? An issue? White, black?
I don't think so.
We heard a lot in this country lately about our people upset with Barack Obama and his health care proposals because they're racist, because he's a black man, or are they upset because health care is something they may differ with him on what they want to do?
I think it's
you heard that
the issue with health care with people different with them.
So you don't think there's basically, you think, and Obama has said he doesn't think it's a matter of race with most people.
We're in the
you agree with Barack Obama?
I do. We're in the 21st century. I mean, as you just said, we just elected
Jimmy Carter, who was president, you might remember him, president from 1976 to 1980. He says I'm not going to quote him exactly, but the overwhelming portion of the folks who are intensely upset on the health care issue, overwhelming proportion, based on the fact that they don't think that a black man is qualified to be president. Well, you heard Carter say that?
I don't remember him saying it, but he
may
have said it.
You disagree with Carter?
Okay.
You disagree with your former president of the Democratic Party?
The thing
the former Democratic president, president of the United States?
I do.
Okay, you do.
Yeah.
You take him on.
Yeah,
on that.
I think that, we're in a different day and age, and I think that the whole issue is the healthcare system and how it should be implemented.
All right. You don't have just, as we say, Todd Stroger, you're also running against Alderman Tony Preckwinkle.
Tony Preckwinkle, yes.
You see daylight between her views on taxes and your views on taxes?
I do. She's talking about gradually bringing them in, and where I'm talking about, or gradually repealing it, and I'm talking about repealing it immediately.
She's African American, you're white. See any difference there?
No.
Issue difference, right?
No, it's just on the issue on the tax.
Cook County Clerk of the Circuit Court, Dorothy Brown. She's running. See any daylight between your views on taxes and hers?
She has also said that she's going to gradually phase it out rather than phase it out immediately. So, I mean, I don't know what they're seeing. And then
Congressman Danny Davis. See any daylight? He's African American. Dorothy Brown's African American. The dispute between you and Brown, not based on race, right?
No.
What about Congressman Danny Davis? Any daylight between you and him on taxes?
Danny's mentioned he hasn't had enough information to make a decision on what he wants to do with it.
So he's not even saying he'll definitely do this?
Repeal it or...
I've heard him say on a radio show I did on WVON that he couldn't answer that question when I said, if you were there, would you have supported that increase in the tax? He says, because so many other things would have been different, he couldn't answer that.
Yeah.
What do you think of that answer?
That's, I don't know. That's his answer, not mine.
You wouldn't give that answer?
No.
Right, no difference between, it's not a racial issue between you and Danny Davis.
Danny and I have worked together on bringing revenue to the district from the federal level.
To which district?
To the Metropolitan Water Reclamation. And we're constructing this tunnel and reservoir plan, and he has been very supportive, as have all the members and leaders of Congress.
Bringing
both
federal
sides
money to the
back
Water
to Chicago
Reclamation
for the
District.
Water Reclamation District to complete the reservoir portion of this project. So I've worked from everybody across, whether it's party lines or whatever. I've always had a great working relationship with those people.
Yet you've heard, maybe you haven't heard this, but Congressman Davis said this on WVON, that was on the show, is Voice of the People with State Representative LaShawn K. Ford. I got to be a guest host on that show, and Congressman Davis, who I invited as a guest, came on the show and we talked about things. You can hear that whole show in its entirety by going to youtube.com, and it's / I've been saying it wrong, youtube.com/user/ public affairs TV. Although mostly we have our TV shows on there are 2 radio shows from WVON. But what Congressman Davis made, and he made an impassioned argument about this. He's not decided whether he's running, he says he's running for Cook County Board President, but he's passing petitions, nominating petitions for both. For the 7th Congressional District,
and
for President Cook County Board. And I said, why? People are confused. And he lectured me about he wouldn't do anything that's going to cause a fracturing, and I'm paraphrasing, of the empowerment of the African American community. Because he would point out there are 4 African American candidates running for Cook County Board President, and there's only 1 candidate who's white. So although you've said no racial issues, you would admit there's a lot of ethnic identity that goes on in any case, whether it's race, religion, or so forth, right?
I wouldn't.
You're Irish?
I wouldn't. I'm Irish, yes.
Irish Catholic?
Irish Catholic, but...
And not to pick on Irish Catholic, but you'd expect, I hear the best name on a ballot in general in Cook County is what? An Irish name, right? Especially for judges. I think there have been people who've been Jewish who've changed their name just to have that Irish name on the ballot running for judge.
I know one.
Right. All right. So, I mean, you would admit there's some benefit, number one, to having an Irish name, maybe an Irish Catholic name, on the ballot, right?
Well, there could be.
There could be.
But
a lot of people do vote on that, right? You would concede that.
I don't know if they do so much anymore. I think people are more in tune.
They have in the past.
Well, I won't disagree with that. But now I think people are more in tune and people have more information to base their decisions on who they vote for.
Do African Americans in general vote for somebody if their 2 people are otherwise viewed as competent and so forth? They're leaning toward the person who's African American, right?
Well,
in the same way,
I can't speak
don't you think Greeks tend a little more for Greeks, Jews for Jews?
I would hope that would not be the case.
But I'm asking you, you know politics. Yeah. You've been in this business for at least 21 years. You've been, on the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, longer than that, yeah. But you've been an elected politician. Give it to them straight.
No.
Ethnicity and race count, right?
Well, there's no question. There's going to have some support there. Okay. But, I would hope that the decisions will be made based on the person's ability to get some stuff done and work with people. I mean, that's always been my philosophy.
So you're not running on race at all?
No, not at all. I mean, I have done so much for various communities throughout this county in my relation to my current position as president of the Water Reclamation District. We have met, we have worked with the concerns of people in all areas, whether it's dealing with wastewater, whether it's dealing with stormwater. You can touch any community and they will let you know that Terry Obrien has been accessible to their needs and their concerns.
But you would concede, see what Congressman Davis was worried about, he said, with 4 candidates, they might split up the black vote too much. He's saying somebody needs to get out of there who doesn't have a good chance to win, and he's implying without saying maybe he would at the end. That's why he's passing petitions in both.
Yeah.
And you would concede if you're running against 2 African-American candidates, or even 3, your chances would be better than running against 4. You'd concede that, wouldn't you?
Well, the thing is I'm running on my record, is the bottom line, Jeff. I mean, we had how many candidates in the race before? Larry Suffern was in it, Tom Dart was thinking about it. There was quite a few people that were in.
You're running on your record.
Yes.
Now, you got your critics. You understand that, right?
I understand.
Because you're saying you're a reform candidate.
Yes.
And you're saying you want to clean up patronage, right? And you've been asked about this before, summer jobs at the Water Reclamation.
That's correct.
Have they gone to one of your kids? You've got 3 kids.
I
You've
have.
got a lovely wife, 22 years, right?
22 years.
You've got lovely 3 kids. I don't know if we say lovely, but some are boys and girls, but you got 3 great kids, right?
3 expensive kids.
All right. And you've given a summer job to one of those kids. Have you given it to all 3 or just one?
Just one. I helped out my son last year because he did come home and things were tight, and I made a recommendation.
Is that setting a bad example?
It is possibly. It was probably poor judgment on my part. But
So does that mean you wouldn't do it again?
well, yeah, I would. No.
Take a pledge not to do it again?
Yes, I would.
And if you're
Yes,
at
I
Cook
would.
County, similar situation, you wouldn't do that as president of the Cook County Board?
And what I've said before, if somebody is qualified to fill that position, educational-wise, experience-wise, I have no problem with that. But if they don't have the qualifications, put them
Yeah,
into
but
that
do you
spot.
think maybe if they're so qualified, let them go get some job somewhere else?
Yeah,
So you're saying you agree with that?
exactly.
A mistake on your part.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
You heard this allegation that somebody got a job, a carpenter, by going on a permanent provisional hiring instead of passing the test in exchange for 23rd Ward support from you? For
That's
you?
not-
Have you heard that allegation?
No, I have not.
It's new.
Yeah, and I don't do anything with
You
hiring.
deny it.
I deny
You
it.
didn't influence it in any way.
That is correct.
Did somebody that you know get a job that way? You know what I'm talking about? Permanent provisional hiring means they can bypass the usual tests?
No, provisional hiring is when there's not a current eligibility list posted.
But if you keep doing it without them taking a test, you get around that.
No, it doesn't happen
Doesn't
that way.
happen that way?
No. What happens is, as soon as the list comes down, another test is offered. We have to have a current eligibility list as it goes.
So they've always got to pass that test.
That's correct.
And so it's got to be based on the person with the highest score.
Yes.
And you deny there's any cases where somebody's getting the benefit and getting around that.
What happens, let me explain.
Because you're the president, so you got to take the
But I
heat
don't
if
do
somebody's
the,
getting
I
around.
understand, and I don't do the appointment. That was taken away from us way back in the early 1990s.
But you can influence people. People want to, you understand.
I understand it, and here's how the procedure goes. Somebody comes in, and this is for everybody. We only have 60 exempt positions at the district, and those are normally the commissioner's office aides and department heads and their administrative assistants. Everybody else has to go through an exam. We were put under federal consent decree order in 1984, where the Attorney General of the State of Illinois sued the district because there weren't tests being given.
In 1984.
In 1984. Since that period of time, a test is given for each position. The eligibility list is good for 3 years. It's broken down into categories. Well qualified is a candidate who scores anywhere from 90 to 100. Qualified is anybody who scores from 80 to 90, and then qualified is somebody who scores 70 to 80%. And those are the candidates that the general superintendent is allowed to
Can he
select
pick from anybody, whether they're in 70 or 80 or 90?
No, he's got to pick.
He's got to pick the highest
If
score?
there's more than 5 in the universe in the A category, the well-qualified category, he's got to pick out of that category. If there's less than 5 in that category, then he can jump down to the B
can.
category.
Okay.
That's how it's set up.
And does he do
And-
that sometimes?
If there's less than 5 in the A category, yeah, he could possibly do that.
To supplement, to have more candidates for choice is what
Yes.
you're saying.
Yes. And what happens, they also have to go through an interview process with the group of potential supervisors who utilize these people.
Name familiar, Brendan O'Connor, does that sound familiar to you? Did he get a job there?
Brendan took an exam. Brendan was a police officer for the Water Reclamation District. And then it gone to law school on the district, and that's when we changed the ruling and regulations as far as tuition reimbursement for employees who are getting a degree which they couldn't move into at the agency.
Okay.
Brendan left the district. Brendan then came back and took the head attorney's position.
And got a job.
He was, I guess, top in the category.
Did he give contributions to you?
Did he give contributions to me? Sure, he had.
Substantial?
I don't know how much.
$2,000, $3,000, $4,000?
I wouldn't say it was that high, but
Less than 2,000?
yeah, but that was long before he even taken the exam.
So you're saying that didn't have anything to do with him getting a job?
It did not.
Are there two brothers in the law department?
I believe
At the reclamation
yes,
district?
there
Is that odd? So does that indicate or suggest there might have been some influence there?
That selection is done again by the general superintendent and the head attorney.
Is there somebody there who is a former chief of staff and then took his pension and then came back? Somebody was in the district for about like 47 years, something like that?
My actual chief of staff was head of the field operations for the industrial waste division, and I brought him back when I became president on contract.
What's his name?
His name is Jim Densick, and it was all verified and cleared through our law department.
You brought him
whether it
back
be-
after he'd left and went on a pension?
After he left, correct. He had left and he had gone to work in the private sector.
And is he working as your chief of staff now?
Yes, he is.
Does he classified as a consultant?
Yes, he is.
So, and that's permitted by your pension plan, that somebody who's got a pension can come back and work for the district after they've retired?
That is correct.
Because you know there must be many pension plans where they can't do that.
We understand it.
You think that's appropriate?
No, and that's what we're looking at right
Well,
now.
why'd you
We're
hire the
looking
guy
at,
then, if you don't think it's appropriate?
well, I needed a person that could work with multiple people and multiple personalities on our board.
He's the
And
only guy who
someone-
could do that?
Well, and someone who had the institutional knowledge of what we needed as an agency.
And what does he get total now? What's his pension, about 150,000?
No, it's not that high.
100,000?
I would say probably in the 60s.
60s, and what's his salary for the
His
consultant
salary,
position?
if he uses it all, which he hasn't, would be 150,000 by the contract. But he has not expended all that.
But he would have the potential then, with pension, to get a total of $210,000.
That's how
a
it
year.
adds up. Yes.
What's your salary per year?
My salary is 80,000.
Does that seem kind of out of sync? This guy's getting that much money?
Well, he's a full-time person.
You're not a
and
full-time
works.
person,
The commissioners are not full-time.
What's your
people.
salary?
My salary is 80,000.
but you also have a job working as a consultant.
That's correct.
Who's that with?
K Plus Environmental.
You and two other individuals, partners, right?
Yes.
Do any business with the reclamation
No,
district?
we don't. That's the only reason I joined the firm.
So in no way do you benefit from business that goes to other people and somehow flows back to
No.
your firm?
No.
Oh, iron wall between those two.
That's correct. And that's why I joined that firm.
Same thing. Would you continue working with that firm if you became Cook County Board
No.
President? You can't do that because that's full time, right?
Exactly.
That pays $170,000.
Exactly. Or 165.
$165. What about your tax returns? Would you release your tax returns?
I would be happy to.
Well, have you
The
done it yet?
financial
Have you done it
statement.
before, running
No, I
for
haven't.
president?
I've
Whatever.
not- I've not been asked to.
Why? So it's just a matter of asking, and nobody's asked. Now I ask, and you'll do it.
I'll release the financial statement.
Pardon?
I'll release a financial statement.
But not your tax returns.
Well, the first 2 pages of the tax return is my financial statement. So
But I mean, just to be on the safe side for people who want total transparency, we're taping the show on September 20th.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, Terry O'Brien, would you release your tax returns immediately?
I will release the financial statement, and I've got my ethics statement that covers everything that I do.
Are there schedules for your tax returns?
There is.
But you're not releasing those either.
That's correct. I'll
Do you
just
think you're setting the bad example for transparency?
No, I think I'm giving the information that people are asking, what I make on an annual basis, and then
Well,
they've
I'm a
got my
journalist.
ethics
I'm
statement,
asking,
too.
where's the tax return? Don't I count? What am I, chopped liver around here?
No.
All right, but you're okay. You're taking that position. That's your position. So you think you've got a record that stands up to reform? I've raised some issues. You've denied some. You've agreed to some. You're saying it's a better record than anybody running against you for reform.
Everything I've done is within the letter of the law, and it's with professional people. I mean, these people that you've brought up, the instances that you brought up, have taken exams, and were hired off the list via the general superintendent.
Back to the Cook County Board. So how many clinics should there be to be, right now, do we have the right number of clinics and hospitals for Cook County in the health
There's
care?
24.
We have
presently.
24 clinics
I think
right
there's
now?
24 clinics.
Okay, and you think that's the right number?
Well, I don't know. I haven't even looked at that whole scenario with regards to the clinics.
So you might want more or less depending on how you
That's
go in
correct.
there.
And what I'd also look into is a study that was just done by the Center for Tax Budget Accountability, was possibly getting involved with having some of the tax-exempt entities being involved in providing some charity care with regards to the region itself.
Yeah.
I mean, there's $489 million in tax-exempt.
Have you heard of waiting lines? People go to county hospital, go to the clinics, they can't get mammograms, they can't get things they need right then?
Yes, I have.
Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have.
What would you do to stop that?
Well, there's got to be a change. There's got to be a change in the attitude and the personnel at
But
the
no more
facility.
funding. You can improve the quality without the increase in funding.
I think it can be done.
You're taking that pledge.
I think it can be done.
Diversity. Some people say on both sides, they want to know if there's diversity. If somebody's African American, they want to see some diversity in that person's inner circle. If somebody's white, they want to see diversity there. Inner circle, your circle right now at the Reclamation District. Who is it in your inner circle? Who do you rely on for that? You need some advice. It's a tough issue.
I deal with all my board members when I'm
That's your inner
talking about
circle?
issues, yes.
All right, but
Which
you don't
consists
have
of
you don't
7 women,
Okay.
2 African Americans, and Hispanic.
But that's not your choosing. They are who they are. If they're board members, they were elected, right?
Yeah, but that's who I
That's
work with.
diverse.
Yeah.
But now running for Cook County Board President, do you have an inner circle of people you rely on to help you get elected for president?
My wife.
Well, you must have a staff, Terry.
Well-
With all compliments to your wife, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm sure she can handle it all better than I could, better than you could. But still, you've got to have a staff.
Yeah, we've done the discussion. We've gone around to all the people, made the rounds to all the people. Now we're assembling our team. Right now, we're just in the process.
Is it going to be a diverse team?
Yes, it will be.
Will there be African Americans?
Yes, there will be.
Will there people be from the South Side of Chicago?
Yes, there will. Yes, there will be. There'll
People
be
can
people
identify
from
with the
Hispanic
wards throughout the
community.
city.
Yes.
With the township committee chairman throughout the city.
Yes.
Various townships, diverse, Cook County,
Yes.
the whole thing. You're
It
taking
will
that
be
pledge.
inclusive.
You're taking that pledge.
Yes, I am.
All right, we're going to continue to speak as the credits roll, but I very much want to thank our guest, Terry Obrien, who's running for president of the Cook County Board. He's running in the Democratic primary. That primary will be February 2nd, 2010. Filing date's in late October,
October 26th is the first date.
got a
November
week.
2nd is the last date.
and then we'll find out who's really running.
Yeah.
You think it'll be different than the folks I said?
There's a possibility. Like you said, mentioned Congressman Davis circulating 2 sets of petitions, whether he's going to, stay in this race or decide to just stay in Congress. It's up to his call.
All right. Juvenile Detention Center, temporary juvenile detention center. Is that still a mess?
Yes, it is.
It's run by Cook. It's supposedly run by
run by
Cook County, but it's run by
By the Chief Judge.
Timothy Evans. Right?
Timothy Evans. Just had a couple forums just not too long ago. A couple people got up and just said it's out of control.
So, what would you do if it's run under Timothy Evans? If you were president of the Cook County Board, is there anything you could do, and what would you do?
Well, I don't know how much we can do, but I know we can have a dialogue between the Chief Judge and our office.
Who's the guy who runs it day to day?
Right now, I think his name is Dunlap, maybe.
Earl Dunlap?
Earl Dunlap.
Does he get full-time pay or part-time
Well,
pay?
my understanding, he gets full-time pay, and he's only there 3 days a week.
Why is that? Who would allow that?
I have no idea.
Timothy Evans allow that? Chief Judge? Shouldn't you, as a candidate, call up Evans right now and say, I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to you about that? You may not be the president, you may be not holding any office there,
Yeah.
but you are a citizen, you're running for office. Wouldn't that be a smart thing to do? Call him up respectfully and say, I'd like to have a dialogue with you about that.
Sure. Well, the thing is, there was an allegation made at a particular meeting.
Oh, I know.
First of all,
People have been talking about the mess at juvenile.
Well, I
juvenile
understand
detention
that. I
center
understand that.
Since I've been doing this show, which is, I'm an old man already,
I understand it.
It's been a mess, a long time.
It's been a dumping ground.
All right, so would you do that? Would you take that commitment?
Sure.
You'll be calling up Timothy
I will
Evans this
call
week?
him. I will call
This
him.
week?
I will call him this week.
All right, and report back?
I know who he is. I'll
Report
give you a
back
call
on the
back.
show? All right. See, we're having an impact here. This is reform. It's not completely related to this, but it might be the Olympics. Are you for the 2016 Olympics?